What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome back to the original call to post here on the network. We break down everything thoroughbred horse racing has to offer here in North America. And with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Mr. Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. It looks like we're finally out to on the start of summer weather in San Diego, which is real nice. You know, the morning gray is burning off earlier, the sun's out, and walking my dog's wearing shorts, so I'm a happy guy.
Amen. It's that about 2 months where we enjoy the hot weather, and then in September and October we start cursing the heavens because it's 110 degrees and all of our fans have been ran into the ground. But yeah, this is kind of the sweet spot. And of course, kind of say that tongue in cheek here in San Diego. Plenty of people back east rolling their eyes that I ever complain about San Diego weather. But we are recording here on the 30th of May. Had a couple weeks. Raider Jim was jet setting in Europe. I had a little family thing a few weeks ago as well. So getting ourselves caught up here. We are about 10 days away from the third and final jewel of the Triple Crown. There will be no Triple Crown this year. We'll get to that momentarily. But then we do have, of course, some horse races at Churchill Downs and Santa Anita this weekend that we are going to talk about. And we are, of course, going to take a moment to just look at an early kind of thoughts on the Belmont Stakes. But the best place to start is kind of to tie a bow on the first two crown, or the first two jewels, I should say, in that Triple Crown. Of course, Mystic Dan coming out of nowhere to win the Kentucky Derby, and then Seize the Gray going from the Pat Day Mile, winning the Pat Day Mile on Derby Day, which was kind of like the Kentucky Derby also eligibles Derby, if you will. Ran in the Preakness and got the job done. Fantastic run from the gray horse. Raider Jim, your thoughts on at least the Derby? I know you were sleeping out there in the Europe or the Europe time on the Preakness, but your thoughts on the Derby overall?
Yeah, Derby, and of course I did. When I got back, I made sure I pulled up all the reruns of the Preakness and got a good shot at it. So, but in the Derby, what can you say? Mystic Dan. And I will tell you, I remember sending you text messages that day as they came around that far turn into the home stretch, and I was yelling, "There's mugging going on! There's mugging
Yeah.
going on! What's all this action?" And there was no inquiries, no nothing like that. Rewatching the race, here's what I saw. I saw Mystic Dan and Brian Hernandez, a fantastic jockey. He won the race. Yes, Mystic Dan had a great pace, but the way Brian Hernandez held him on the rail, and then as they came around into the home stretch, he went past Track Phantom when there was nowhere to go, and somehow he made it, and that was as clean as you could get. Now, but what did I see when I was screaming about mugging, mugging? Look at all that action. When you look at that, the two horses I was talking about were Sierra Leone and Forever Young coming into the stretch. When you look at that straight on, and here's the analogy I'll give you. I walk my dogs. When I walk my dogs every day, they walk side by side. Now they go 55 pounds a piece. So I'm definitely, I can control these dogs. However, if something startles them or if something rattles in a bush and one wants to go to the left, I really got to plant my feet because now I've got 110 pounds of dog pulling me in one direction. If you watch Sierra Leone, not the jockey, caused the problems and also lost the race. I think if Sierra Leone would have stayed in his lane and not drifted or leaned so far to the left, honest to goodness, it looked like that jockey was actually touching
Yeah.
Forever Young with his left hand, almost like he was trying to
He was
push away
pushing him.
because he did not want to do that because he had the crop in his hand
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't even use his crop. So if Sierra Leone wouldn't have been so stubborn and would have been able to just stay focused and stay straight, Sierra Leone, I think, was actually the better horse on the track that day. But that's neither here nor there because, again, hats off to Brian Hernandez and Mystic Dan because what it was like the perfect ride. Technically, one of the greatest rides ever. That rail ride was just like Calvin Burrell almost
Hmm.
when it comes right down to it. So Sierra Leone probably would have won the Derby, but again, Sierra Leone was just getting a little antsy out there and just big horse and just leaning a little too much. And it's just like, okay, yeah, they're professionals. It's like, a race car. Well, at some point, if you lose that torque on your steering wheel, guess what? You're going to spin and all kinds of bad things are going to happen because you can only do so much. So the horsepower of Sierra Leone was a little too much coming down that straight, but what a run. What a run by Mystic Dan.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic race. It was, I don't know if it's going to go down as a quote unquote triple photo finish. Because I think Forever Young was maybe a half a snout behind
It was a nostril.
yeah, and it was incredible, the run down there. But I agree with you. Like when I saw that stretch run, sometimes it's just kind of madness. You don't know which horse is doing what in the moment. But the head-on shot was really the one. It reminded me, and I don't remember what horse it was, but it's, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, where one of the horses going down the front stretch and he just starts to bite the other horse.
Yeah.
It kind of, and once again, it was in a big race because I remember watching it. And it was kind of similar to that. And I do wonder if Churchill looked at it and said, look, we're going to give it to Mystic Dan. Mystic Dan wasn't involved in that little fracas. We've had, and speaking for Churchill, of course, and this is just my theory, but Churchill has had some controversy over the last, I mean, going back to, I forget the name of the horse that was disqualified. Um, Anyways, and then obviously we had the Bob Baffert stuff, things like that last year where they were only able to, I think, run 17 or 18 horses because the track was, there were question marks, Forte
Right.
scratched, all that stuff. So I do wonder if they were like, look, let's just call it official, go home, and hope that no one noticed. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think an inquiry at the very least needed to be done. They needed to take a moment to look at things and to just take a minute. And even if, hey, we're Forever Young, didn't do anything wrong. We're dropping that horse down. Doesn't affect at least one who won the race, but we're all betters here. And we all know here on the horse racing side of things, one of the best parts about horse racing is your horse technically doesn't have to win for you to win. If you had to play show ticket on Forever Young, all of a sudden that ticket doubled if you do get to that steward's inquiry. Really unfortunate overall, but the race in general, I think, was great. And
Great
another thing that
race.
I do think was that sometimes gets forgotten about when you do talk about the Kentucky Derby is they're 3-year-olds. That's essentially college kids at the horse race level, if you will. 2-year-olds are high schoolers, 3-year-olds are college kids, 4-year-olds rookie, if you want to look at it that way. But that's kind of how you need to look at this. You're going into the biggest race, and I mean in terms of also probably purse, but also horses. You got 20 horses. These horses are never going to run in a race, more than likely with 14 more other horses. So I do think that's kind of another part of it. But young horses kind of getting out there, and maybe Sierra Leone hasn't been tested like that. Oh, it was a great race, and a part of me wanted to see the inquiry, but the other part of me kind of understood that I think Churchill wants to, I guess, lay low is the right word. They just don't want any more controversy if they can avoid it. But going to the Preakness, and I will say I had Seize the Gray in the Pat Day Mile, won me some money there on Derby Day. But to see Seize the Gray, I think it was 12-1 go off in the Preakness in a muddy course or muddy track, whatever you want to call it. I took that chance with a lot of value, and the race that horse ran, obviously only 4 or 5 true contenders compared to the Derby. You have plenty more, but to see that horse go out, get the win, in that, yeah, we'll call it slop. Very, very
Yeah.
impressive. Obviously, Preakness Day didn't have the undercard that Derby Day did. But Raider Jim, any thoughts on the Preakness?
What do you say? Dwayne Lucas, 88 years old,
Unbelievable.
oldest trainer to win a Triple Crown race. He's going to be 89 on Labor Day this year, if I'm not mistaken.
And he
But
looks
the
amazing,
other
by the way.
part,
He does not look anywhere near 80, let alone 88.
no,
Sorry, just want to throw that out there.
he lives right. He does something right. There was a comment somewhere. They said all of a sudden Dwayne Lucas is really running a lot of races, a lot of horses. And somebody asked, is it just because his stable's getting smaller? And it's just like, I haven't heard anything like that. So I think it just happens that he's seeing the opportunity for the horses he has and to get them out there on the track. Seize the Gray is also one of those horses that you could buy shares on through
Yep.
the My Racehorse uh, venture. 2,700 micro owners of that horse. Now, I don't know what that equates to, except everybody gets a certificate that said, I was the owner of the Preakness winner, something like that. But that's kind of a fun thing to also have hanging up in your man cave or your family room, something like that. Now, did Imagination run in that race?
Well, yes,
Back,
I'm almost positive it did because I'm pretty sure I bet it,
and
but I could be also thinking, yeah, let me check that. But
and
continue.
I'm thinking Imagination, if I'm not mistaken, the news I heard on that horse or the storyline I heard on that horse is Imagination cannot break fast. If you let Imagination get out there, Imagination's just kind of like, no need to hurry. I'm in front. And that's how Imagination gets run down. So the question of the day that I was hearing from some of the track people was, did they lay back too long on Imagination? Did they hold him back? I mean, it was only a nine horse field, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah. So they said, they think maybe Imagination, the jockey, kind of held him back a little too much. Should have kept him up a little bit more, and because he made a pretty decent run towards the end, but not enough by any stretch. And then the other one was that I think we need to keep an eye on, especially me and my virtual stable, is Catching Freedom.
Yeah.
Catching Freedom didn't run a bad race at all. And there's talk that Catching Freedom, they may go ahead and enter Catching Freedom into the Belmont, but I haven't heard that confirmed one way or the other. But yeah, Dwayne Lucas and Seize the Gray, I mean, who knows? I think he's going to be back out there for the Belmont. So let's see if he gets 2 out of 3.
Yeah, currently is a probable on the list according to Horse Racing Nation. Yeah, and now it's all coming back to me with Imagination because Imagination was one of the two horses Baffert couldn't run in the Derby, along
Right.
with Muth, and Muth actually did scratch. I don't know the specifics of that, but I'm almost positive it was before the day of, so I think it might have just been maybe a workout or something. So I don't think it was anything day of. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, Imagination, now that I do think about it, I did bet this horse because I expected more out of it. But I think at the end of the day, I think he hit the nail on the head. And I don't know if the jockey maybe just overestimated, or maybe I guess in this case underestimated the speed that was going to be at the front, or at least the footing that Imagination was going to have coming down the stretch. But I do think the fact that we did see just a sloppy track maybe kind of changed some of those closers where, all right, well, if you're 5 lengths off the lead coming down the home stretch, we'll be fine. And all of a sudden, oh, we're bogged down in the mud here. Or I got stuck on the rail and I'm on my 15th goggle, just
Right.
covered in mud. So yeah, there are plenty of things there. Imagination, Baffert will be just fine, but definitely not the run. I want to say that was, I'm almost positive Mystic Dan went off as the favorite, and Imagination would have been 2 or
Yes.
3, I believe, on the betting line there. A lot of it because there were a lot of people who thought Muth was the best of the Baffert horses that didn't run, but Imagination was right behind it. And it would have been interesting to see Muth run in the Belmont, or excuse me, in the Preakness, but we did not have that. No word on the Belmont yet, but not listed on the probables. So I would not expect to see Muth in the Belmont. But it's a perfect segue to the final jewel of the Triple Crown. As I mentioned earlier, we'll not have a horse win the Triple Crown, but someone will win the Belmont. As of now, let me get my notes ready. Here it is. As of now, the probables for the Belmonts are Mystic Dan, Dornock, Seize the Gray, Torpedo Anna, The Wine Steward, Tuscan Gold, Honor Marie, Protective, Mind Frame, Antiquarian, Sierra Leone, and we also do have Fierceness here, but it has come out that Fierceness will not run in the Preakness. Instead, we'll look to the Haskell. So, as of right now, probables, Todd Pletcher, I think we're looking at 9 horses here. Todd Pletcher has 3 of them. Obviously, Seize the Gray and Mystic Dan will get a lot of the attention. Raider Jim, your early thoughts. We're still about 10 days away, so we don't have any PPs ready yet, but your early thoughts on the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah, I like when we have 2 weeks because I can say anything I want today, and next week I'll say, oh, I've had better chance to study. But one of the knocks, and it's not really a knock, but just a comment about the Preakness was not to take anything away from Seize the Gray or Mystic Dan, but a lot of competitors did not show up. As you mentioned, Moose was not there, Sierra Leone was not there, Fierceness wasn't there, and you know, some of these horses are just waiting for the Haskell now. These are kind of like the Belmont is kind of like precursor for a lot of these horses for the Haskell, which will be run on July the 20th, and I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about that. So right now, looking at the field, Muth is a maybe, maybe not. If Muth runs, I think Muth is going to definitely finish in the money. The one that I think is going to surprise everybody and runs very well, ran very well in the Peter Pan Stakes, is Antiquarian. That horse is one that it will surprise people unless you've paid attention. Won't surprise you if you've been paying attention. So I like Antiquarian to definitely finish in the money. I think Seize the Gray, or excuse me, I think it will be Sierra Leone, is going to run a better, cleaner race. When I say cleaner, technically cleaner, I don't think that he will get into the pushing and jostling and leaning in on the other people. And I think when it comes right down to it, if it's Seize the Gray, Mystic Dan, and Sierra Leone coming down the stretch, and if Sierra Leone has his own lane and just stays the course, Sierra Leone wins it.
Yeah, I like that. I also have kind of my eye on Tuscan Gold. This is a horse that did run 4th in the Preakness. Was kind of on the outside looking in for the Derby, finished 3rd in the Louisiana Derby, but that was its only Derby prep race, so it didn't have the points to get into the Derby, but enabled to get into the Preakness and ran very well. Will need to improve. I think it was like a low 90s run in the Preakness. You're going to need to probably be in the low hundreds to win the Belmont, unless, you know, the pace is just a snail's pace, but definitely keep an eye there on Tuscan Gold. But I am a little bummed that we're not going to see Fierceness, because like you said, I do wonder, we've seen the, I guess, path for a lot of the horses that don't win the Derby. They take the Preakness off and kind of take that extra 2 weeks and then get ready for the Belmont. And I do wonder if, you know, now maybe that turns into the Haskell. I think that might probably be a bit dramatic on my end, because we are talking about 6 weeks after the Belmont. Excuse me. I don't want to, you know, tell these owners or trainers how to run their horses, but 2 races from June 8th to July 20th, not crazy, but at the same time, you do want to run in the Haskell, and that's a big time race. Also, Belmont, that, you know, 1.25 miles. I think it's the longest in North America, or at least up there. So that's a big race, and you really got to kind of be ready to fully go all in on the Belmont. And I do think we are seeing, you know, Seize the Gray and Mystic Dan. It's kind of turning out to be Sierra Leone, Mystic Dan, and excuse me, Seize the Gray kind of rubber match, if you will, to figure out if one of those get 2 or if Sierra Leone's able to get one of those 3 jewels as well. But the Belmont, we will be with you next week when we have the PPs in front of us. We have the post positions, we have everything, and that's when we will lock it in. Raider Jim will get that more studying in, myself as well, and we'll come ready to bring the heat. But we are going to continue on that path, at least with Churchill, as we do look ahead to this Saturday. When I say this Saturday, that will be the 1st of June. We are going to be looking at 4 grade 3 races at Churchill this weekend. And Raider Jim, I do apologize. I gotta stop looking at Horse Racing Nation to get like the stakes because they don't put them in order. So I do
No
apologize. The order
problem.
will be a little off here. We are gonna go chronologically. We'll start with race 6. Again, this will be Churchill Downs, Saturday, June 1st. It's gonna be the Grade 3 Arlington Stakes. For 4-year-olds and up. We are going 1.16 miles on the turf. The purse, 275,000. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors. Your thoughts on the Grade 3 Arlington?
Yeah, the Arlington Stakes. I think for me, it's hands down. I'm going to take the horse on the rail, Ottoman Fleet.
Mhm.
Charlie Appleby and Flavian Pratt's going to be out there. Made a nice run in the Grade 2 Fort Marcy Stakes and came in second. So I don't see any trouble with them. Again, I like that they got the rail on this one. Right now, they're an early morning favorite at like 9-5. So there's not a lot of value there. And then it just happens that right next door, his neighbor, Emmanuel, is the other horse that I like. That's Irad Ortiz. Todd Pletcher is the trainer. Now, 7 wins, including they've got a G2, grade 2 in the Pennine Ridge, I think it was. They have grade 3 that they won the Tampa Bay Stakes, the poker, and then they also on the Canadian turf, they also won. So Emmanuel, I think Emmanuel is going to really, really push that one. And then I do also like, no, I don't see anybody pulling the big upset in this one. I do like Northern Invader at 6-1, has some nice value with Jose Ortiz riding. That's out of the 5 spot. And then even Chasing the Crown, Kentucky horse with Joel Rosario. Michael Maker is the trainer at 7-2. So again, I don't think we're going to see any surprises. I think it's going to be a small ticket, but those were the 4 I would look at. Ottoman Fleet, Emmanuel, Chasing the Crown, and Northern Invader. Box those around and see what you can come up with. But again, 6-1 on Northern Invader gives you a little bit of value on your ticket.
Yeah, I have all 4 of those horses kind of in my area as well. I felt like I was kind of splitting hairs with Emmanuel and Ottoman Fleet. I'm a big fan of horses, Great Britain or Europe or whatever, that come over here and run a North American race before, a bigger race or something like that. Not to say the Fort Marcy isn't bigger, not as big as Arlington, not saying that, but just to get one under their belt. And this horse has ran in North America before, nothing crazy, but you do like to kind of see, look, this horse, it lives in the hundreds, at least on the buyer side of things. And whenever you get European horses coming over for a turf race, you got to keep an eye there. I do really like Northern Invader at 6-1 with some of the speed numbers that this horse is putting together. Mainly kind of shows how good this field is overall, but that's a massive value play for me. That's something I absolutely love. I also really like, you brought up Chasing the Crown. This is a very consistent horse. Last 6 races, 92, 92, 92, 94, 90, 94. Now might need a little bit of a kick up from 94, but still, if you're living in the mid 90s, I could see how you could make the case that we could make that step possibly into the low triple digits or even the high 90s. One extra one, I'm kind of like you. I don't see a whole lot of upsets coming, but if there is one, I'm looking to the outside. Luis Saez aboard the 8 horse, Irish Aces. This horse ran in the grade 3 Tampa Bay, ran in the grade 2 Outfit Fairgrounds. But this horse has ran a 92 and a 93 in its last 2 races, and it's coming in morning line at 15-1. This horse, originally, they wanted to put it on the dirt, didn't run well on the dirt, push this horse to the turf, and it's doubled its speed output 75, 85, 85, 92, 93 in its last 5 races. I love that trajectory going forward. Pure value. But at 15-1, when you're living in the low 90s, last 2 races, I'll pay $3 or $4 on a play show ticket to see if Irish Aces can get the job done. But that's the one horse that I did kind of, raise an eyebrow at. Those are some speed figures in the morning line, not fully lining up to where I kind of put it. But really difficult field to break through. But who knows? Maybe at 15 or even 18-1, a 3rd place finish still gets you. You got that play show ticket. That show ticket might get you more than Ottoman Fleet across the board just with the value. So keep that in mind. Going to be a very interesting Arlington Stakes this weekend.
Yeah, one word on Northern Invader too. I just looked up last time out in an allowance race, ran a mile, recorded a 112 on the speed.
Wow.
That horse is moving
Yeah. I
and
don't
won
care.
by a
I don't
full
care what
length.
level you're running at. 112 is 112. Very interesting. Yeah, there's something there, but like you said, I do think it's the top two horses, 1 and 2 with Fleet, Ottoman Fleet and Emmanuel might end up being a match race when it's all said and done. Moving on to race number 8, another grade 3. This is going to be the Shawnee Stakes, going a mile and 16 on the dirt. This is for 4-year-old and up fillies and mares. Or no, maybe this is only fillies. No, fillies and mares. Take that back. But yeah, purse of 275,000. I'll get this one started. For me, I'm calling the redemption race. I got 2 horses that I feel are going to get back on track and redeem themselves and from kind of, some subpar efforts of late. And the first horse that I'm going to highlight is number 3 horse. That's going to be Wet Paint. This is a horse that has been one of the top fillies in its earlier, at 2 and 3 years old. I want to say this horse won or was at least a competitor in the Breeders' Cup. No, I got that wrong. Oh no. Sorry. Kentucky Oaks. Okay, so this horse was the favorite in the Kentucky Oaks in 2023. So there was a lot of talk about this horse. It's really struggled of late. Hasn't broke 90 since all the way back last August. Only one race this year, and it wasn't great. And the Apple Blossom ran only an 83, finished 11 lengths off the lead there. I do think this horse rights the ship, gets back into the winner's circle here. Another horse that did jump out to me, not really a redemption horse yet, but the 7 horse, Celia, 5-2. I do like the fact this horse, 2 runs at Churchill Downs, 2 trips to the winner's circle. Blinkers are going on for the first time, so keep that in mind. But I do like the Javier Castellano, William Mott combo here. Big class jump. This is a horse that's only ran 1 grade 3. Didn't run great. Finished in the money, but was 5 lengths off the lead and including a loss to the final horse I want to bring up. Another horse I do believe is going to redeem itself. It is Hidden Connection. This is another horse that has been running in the grade 2s and 3s at the filly and mare level for quite some time. I think this is a pure value pick. This is a horse at 12-1. Yes, it's been running in the high 80s, or even y'all go back to January, unfortunately ran a 71. Really hasn't broke a 90 since September 23rd, but it was at Churchill. So I do think Hidden Connection, Wet Paint, these 2 horses get back on track. And I think there's a lot of value, especially with Hidden Connection at 12-1. Might not win this race, but I think this horse gets in the money. And at 12-1, that will get you some money as well. But Raider Jim, your thoughts on the grade 3 Shawnee Stakes?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for almost the middle of the pack. I like the 6 horse, Zygera, daughter of Nyquist, has a great resume, has wins in a grade 2 Mother Goose at Aqueduct, won the Fall City grade 3 and the Teppan Stakes at Ellis Park. Fantastic horse, nice speed. I think it's gonna have a good break on this one and should do very, very well. Like you, I've got Wet Paint on my ticket. Did real well in the grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks race not too long ago. And then old favorite of mine, who's I just can't stay away from, Hoosier Philly. Has had good success on a grade 2 not that long ago, and then also that 7 horse, Scylla, however it is said, Castellano and Mott at 5-2. I agree with you. One of the things that stood out was that it has run a grade 3 race and did not do well. That sometimes that's just those one-time things. It's that one-time thing, and so I think that horse is going to surprise. I'm not going to be surprised to see that horse finish in the money. So the 4 horses out of a 9-entry field, those are my 4 horses, and I'll just take probably I'll take Hoosier Philly and go underneath, and I'll put Scylla in there to finish in the money on my main ticket.
There you go. Yeah, it's it's going to be a good race. I think nice filly and mare special there for the older filly and mare horses. Sticking into the filly side of things, but this will be for 3-year-olds. This is going to be the race number 9. It is the Grade 3 Regret. We're going 1.125 miles on the turf, purse of 275,000. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? The Grade 3 Regret.
I like 6. Buchu or Buku, however you want to say it, has a couple nice Grade 2 wins in her career, including the Appalachian Stakes, the Jessamine at Keeneland. Also ran last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile for fillies, came in 6th. You'll see a lot of these horses that we're talking about, when they go for the Grade 2s, the Grade 1s, they are challenged. And so these Grade 3 races are kind of like their wheelhouse. And I think that's going to be the case with this one. But not to be mistaken, I sure like Way to Be Marie, the horse on the rail at 3-1 with Florent Giroux on the saddle. You can never go wrong with him. So I look for him to maybe even pull an upset. Dancing in Dixie, the other Ortiz brother, Jose, is going to be running at 7-2. If you're looking for one with a little bit of value, go for the 7-horse Irad Ortiz at 8-1. I like Hello Hollywood and might come out of that horse. And then of course right next door you've got Flavian Proud on another 8-1 on Sassy Princess. But it's going to be for me, it's Way to Be Marie. It's going to be Buchu, and then it's going to be probably I'm probably going to go ahead and fill in with Way to Be Marie, and then I'll choose between the 7 and 8 horse.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same boat there with you. I really do like Buchu. This is a horse. The big question will be, will the value be there? Currently 5-2,
Right.
which I'm okay with, but I think that number is going to drop probably closer to even money. But this by far the most consistent horse in the field and has been progressing well, back-to-back 86s last 2 runs. And then, going to Dancing in Dixie, Jose Ortiz going to be riding up against his brother, which happens probably a lot, but he's been close at the Grade 3 level. But I think we could see a breakthrough from that horse. Another horse I do have, Hello Hollywood, is kind of my like underneath long shot. Really
Yeah.
like, I've always kind of talked about the progression of horses. This horse debuted at a 60, then a 79, got its win, broke its maiden, came back, ungraded stakes race 81, and then got into an allowance race 82. So it's maybe not moving as quickly as I would like, but it is progressing in the right direction. And look, you're going to need probably closer to a 90, maybe even 90 plus to win this race. So might be asking a little much out of Hello Hollywood, but as you said, if anyone's going to, if any jockey can get the job done, it's going to be Irad Ortiz in that situation. One interesting thing I saw here, and this might be the first time, I don't think it's the first time it's ever happened, but it's the first time I've ever noticed it. The 10-horse Faith Understood is entered here in the Regret, and it's also entered Santa Anita in a race that we will talk about momentarily. Will be
Interesting.
running in the Honeymoon Stakes. I've seen situations where you have a horse entered in 2 different races at the same track. I've never seen a horse entered into, and I looked it up.
Cleared, right, right.
And I looked it up. I can't find any specific, and I have to imagine they know, right? They have to be either in Kentucky or California right now. So I don't know. Just want to kind of throw that out there and just to kind of show you the difference in this race as opposed to the Honeymoon. Faith Understood is 15-1. By no means am I saying this horse has any, I just wanted to bring it up, but 15-1. In the Honeymoon at Santa Anita, this horse is 5-2. So that just kind of shows you the difference in that the difference in these 2 races. But I just want to kind of bring that up. I don't want anyone to get kind of fall in love with Faith Understood and then get the rug pulled out from underneath them on Saturday when they realize, oh, that horse is in Santa Anita.
That's supposed to be Mike Smith's horse
Really? Okay. So, goodness gracious. Yeah,
at
I've
five
never
to
seen that.
two.
Yeah, you're right.
Interesting.
It's 2 different jockeys are declared too. Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
And like I said, I feel like, I mean, we're 48 hours, less than 48 hours away. I feel like the decision had to have been made. But
Yeah.
I don't have any knowledge of it. I'm sure it's out there. I just wasn't able to find it in the time before we hit record. But yeah, so something to think about in that situation. But moving on to the yes, race number 10. It is the grade 3, the blame. This is for 4-year-olds and up. We're going a mile and an eighth on the dirt for $275,000 purse. I'll get this one started. I'm gonna have to look at the chalk here on this one. I don't like to. I like to try and find value. It's difficult in this one because that 2-horse for me with Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. Wow. Highland Falls last time out in the Oaklawn handicap. Didn't get the win, but ran a 104. Fell just shy to Skippy Longstocking. Absolutely no shame in losing to that horse. I really do like the post position here of being kind of on the rail. I think if this horse can get on the rail, I don't think this horse is going to be a pace setter. Ironically, I think the 1-horse Frosted Departure right to its left is actually going to be the pace setter. So that might work out for Highland Falls to kind of get right behind him, Frosted Departure, and sit on the rail. I do expect Highland Falls to be a bit of a closer in this one if everything goes as planned. Underneath that, obviously, Tappet Trice. Once again, it's hard to find value in this race when you have such good horses. Tappet Trice, 2 out of the last 3 runs have been hundreds, including in the Travers. However, and this is a big however, this is Tappet Trice's debut, 2024 debut. So we're talking about almost 10 months layoff, August 23rd. August 26th of 2023 at Saratoga. So the last time we saw Tappet Trice. However, this is an incredible horse. But third different jockey as well, something to throw out there. Flavien Prat will get the ride here. It was Luis Saez and Jose Ortiz before that. And then the final horse that has caught my attention is, did I have it listed? The 3-horse War Campaign. This is a Churchill Downs veteran, 6 races at Churchill. All of them have finished in the money. 3 have finished in the winner's circle. This is a horse that will need I don't want to say a lot more because it has ran a 97, but last time out ran a 90 in a grade 3. You're going to need to get it. I feel like you're going to need to probably be in the low hundreds or the very least high 90s. Its career best has been 97. Might be a bit of a tough ask here, but I think when it's all said and done with the odds and everything, War Campaign might have the most value or most bang for your buck for some of the top horses in this one. So that's why it made my card. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the grade 3 Blaine?
Yeah, I think everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Flavien Prat, and I do like the horse Tappet Trice. 3-1 though after such a long layoff. Uh, I don't know that Tappet Trice will be on my ticket, not even underneath, because it's just been too much. As you said, this is the first time it's going to hit the track in 2024, and you walk into a race like this. Good luck to all of them, to Todd Pletcher and Flavien and to Tappet Trice, but I just don't see it, and I don't know why. And it's going to be a real comeback to finish in the money, let
Yeah.
alone win the race. So who do I like though? I like Highland Falls, the 2-horse, Florent Giroux, Brad Cox. That combination is always good. Probably why they are the early morning starts at, 5-2 right now, favorite, I should say. I do like War Campaign at 9-2. Dreamlike, the 6-horse out of Kentucky, Irad Ortiz at 4-1. Another Todd Pletcher horse. He's got neighbors running. He's got Tappet Trice running in 5 with Flavien Prat. He's got Dreamlike running out of 6 with Irad Ortiz. But I like Dreamlike for sure. And then the one that has caught my attention as I was doing some of the reading and studying, the 9-horse, Cagliostro out of Florida. Jose Ortiz at 6-1, good money. Let me tell you, that horse came in second in the Smarty Jones. And that's a pretty good statement. It has a lot of speed, and I think on the right track conditions, it's going to definitely finish in the money. So those would be the 4 that are going to make up my ticket. 2 Highland Falls, 3 War Campaign, 6 Dreamlike, and the number 9 horse, Cagliostro.
And yeah, just going back to Tapit Trice, not only, your season debut, but this is such a tough field to make your
Yeah.
debut again. Like you can't, oh, I don't know. There's plenty of grade threes, and we'll get to one in a moment that aren't at this level. But hey, the trainers, the connections, they're not just throwing a dart against a board. They have their rule or their formula, and they're very successful. So who am I to say? One final horse I do want to bring up, and this, I don't know, it's an interesting one. And the numbers aren't going to jump out to you or anything like that. But that 8 horse, Last Samurai, this is a horse that was running in grade
Yeah.
ones and grade twos. And I don't like to say fell off, but the last 3 races, now they were the Whitney, the Oaklawn Mile, and the Oaklawn Handicap. So we're talking about some really good races. However, this horse finished 40 and a half lengths, 13 and a half lengths, and 11 and 3/4 lengths, respectively in those 3 races. So I could understand why this horse is 20-1. However, this was a horse that just last year finished second in the Oaklawn Handicap, running a 103. 20-1. I don't think it's going to make my ticket, but if someone has that on their ticket and that horse comes in, I would not be surprised to see that happen. It's kind of a horse that's maybe this is the redemption horse in this race, because this, when I was going through it, I said Last Samurai, like, and I thought maybe it was a pedigree. That's why I thought the name. And then I looked at this, I was like, no, this is a horse that we've talked about in the past, but it's been a good year because this horse just hasn't really been performing, hasn't been an issue. Who knows? Maybe this is it. I don't think so, but at 20-1, at the very least, you owe it to go look at this horse and see if it catches your fancy there. So
Yeah, a little deeper look on Tapit Trice here, because we both said, it's been since last August since this horse was on the track. Admittedly, the last 5 races that horse has had were grade 1 races. Now, that sounds great, and won the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes back in April of last year, so just over a year ago. Did hit the winner's circle. After that, though, it was 7th place, 3rd place, 5th place, 3rd place, so a little bit inconsistent there.
yeah,
I just don't know what the trainers have done or what they're seeing, the handicappers are seeing, to actually have that horse at 3-1 right now. Again, best of luck, because I like the jockey trainer combination. I like the horse itself, but we'll see what happens. Kind of just very interesting. Maybe it's that drop down to a grade 3
yeah.
that is promoting it to the odds that it's at right now.
I think that might be a big part of it, but these layoffs, you just got to be real
Too
careful with them
long, too
regardless.
much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for giving but I mean, 10 months. Woo. All right. But once again, they know what's going on much better than we do over here. They're with that horse. But switching our attention from Churchill going out west, it will be at Santa Anita, race number 6. We got 2 races to talk about here at Santa Anita. We got the grade 2 Triple Bend Stakes. We're going 7 furlongs here. I only have 1 horse here. There's only 4 horses running. I think the longest shot is 4-1. And with all due respect to Tahoe Sunrise, I don't know why it's 4-1, but a really good field, but a really small field. Like I said, you no play show tickets here, no exactas here, or excuse me, no superfectas here, anything like that. No crazy exotics. You got 4 horses, and all of them, like I said, 4-1 or less. The horse that caught my attention, it is the 2 horse. And I do believe, nope, it isn't the favorite, but it's almost the favorite. It is Happy Jack. This is Edward Maldonado and Doug O'Neill teaming up here on this horse. I like the progression of this horse. 88, 92, 94, and then 101 in the Kona Gold. In a ungraded stakes race, it lost out to the Chosen Vron. Nothing to be ashamed of to lose out to the Chosen Vron.
Right.
But for me, it's really difficult in these 4 horse races because I don't know what to say. Anything can and probably will happen. The pace setters, you just don't know, because who knows? I mean, you don't need a whole lot of pace to set the pace in this one. So I did like Happy Jack. All of these horses have plenty of pedigree and numbers, but in these small fields, I just kind of look for one horse, pick it, and move on because it just kind of does seem like a minefield. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the very small Triple Bend stakes?
Yeah, it really is. And as you already alluded to, I mean, you've got 9 to 5, Dr. Venkman, 9 to 5, Happy Jack, 2 to 1, Tahoe Sunrise, 4 to 1, Big City Lights, 8 to 5.
Oh, that's
There's no
actually
value in this race. So
no.
you might hit the exacta. I mean, and even at that, if you paid a box in exacta, you better have a lot of money down because those odds aren't going to give you a big return. However, with all that said, that probably didn't need to be said. Who do I like to win this one? I'm with you. I think it's going to be Happy Jack, followed by Big City Lights coming in second. I like that Happy Jack has run within the last 35 days, so I think right there that's going to be that's going to be nice. Not too big of a rest. I would normally probably look at Dr. Venkman, but 224 days off again.
Yeah.
That's just too much for me. Has 2 wins in the 3 starts, last 3 starts. Happy Jack winning percentage isn't there. It's only 17%. Big City Lights, though, don't be surprised. And at 8 to 5, obviously, even the handicappers think has a great shot. Now you're running from the 4 spot, so I guess that is technically the outside spot. But it'll be a fun race to watch. That's for sure. 7 furlongs. It's going to be a very fast pace because the weather out here is going to
Mm.
be nice and dry and bright and sunny.
Amen. Yeah, I'm just looking over Big City Lights right now. Last 6 races, this horse is either won or finished second, and it went 4 races of finishing second to the Chosen Bronze. And the 2 races after that, beat Newgate, fantastic racehorse, and got the other win in the Palos Verdes because there's no Chosen Bronze. And last week, apparently, I'm just reading the daily form kind of blurb here, actually scratched out a last Saturday's Thor's Echo. It would have been the 5th race against the Chosen Brawn. So who knows? Maybe Richard Mandela has had enough of the Chosen Brawn and said, you know what? Let's find a race without the Chosen Brawn. And seems like a few horses have gotten out from the Chosen Brawn shadow in this race. But as I said, grade 2 Triple Bend, small field, fast field. And it's going to be interesting. These sprint races are always crazy. Now only 4 horses. Who knows? Who knows what we're going to see in this one? But that is why they call it handicapping. So moving on to the final race we are going to be talking about. It is the grade 3 honeymoon stakes. We are going these are for 3-year-olds. 3-year-old fillies, I should say, going 1.125 miles on the turf, $100,000 purse. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors to give us your thoughts on the honeymoon stakes.
Yeah, again, Santa Anita, if you're not familiar with Santa Anita, they tend to run smaller fields,
Yeah.
especially at this time of year with everything going on back at, Pimlico and Churchill and all those places like that. So even this race, this is one of the bigger, the honeymoon stakes. It's a grade 3. Purse is only $100,000. So it's not like we're knocking everything dead out here on the West Coast with the money that they're handing out this weekend. Who do I like in this one? This small field. It's a real tight field. Again, you're going to have to work hard with your tickets to get any kind of value because 3 through 7 slots, the best odds you're going to find are 4 to 1. And that's Sea Dancer number 4 and Visually number 6. And I don't think either one of those is probably going to do the trick. I do like Faith Understood, the 3-horse, even though it's the favorite right now, again, with the track conditions as they are. However, asterisk, because Faith Understood is the horse that has either got a doppelganger running back in Churchill or what's going on. If Faith Understood is going to run here at Santa Anita with Mike Smith, I got my money on that horse, no problem. Let's say that horse doesn't run, then who do I like? In that case, I'm going to go with one of those 4 to 1 shots Visually out of the 6 spot. Also like Shiloh's Mistress, 3 to 1 on the outside, also a good horse. And then after that, I think I would just, you can go underneath, or I will go underneath, probably with Circle of Trust.
Yeah, I want to say, a month ago or something like that when we kind of restarted or, for the 2024 season for the Call to Post, there was a grade 3 and I was kind of critical of it. Just the level of horses that were in it. And this is kind of like the 2.0. Once again, I don't mean any disrespect to any of these horses,
No,
fantastic
absolutely
horses.
not.
But I mean, I'm looking at a grade 3, and there's only one horse in this field that has ran 80 plus twice. And it's Shiloh's Mistress, and it was back-to-back 80s. So once again, that's kind of why like I'm handicapping this stuff and going back to the Faith Understood 5-2 here, 15-1 at Churchill. Both of these races are grade 3s. And a lot of it is, as you kind of mentioned, Santa Anita's their kind of wheelhouse is that December to March, April, and then the Triple Crown seasons get rolling back east. And like I said, I mean, once again, no disrespect to any of the jockeys here, but you're not seeing the big time jockeys. Mike Smith and Edwin Maldonado are really the only names on the jockey card here. But with that being said, stop being so critical, Brandon. I do really like Shiloh's Mistress, all things considered, in this field. As I said, the only horse that's ran over 80 or at least 80 twice, and it's been the last 2 times, and they were both in grade 3s, and they were both at Santa Anita. This is a horse only ran once at Santa Anita, but at the very least has a little bit of knowledge under its belt. I also do like visually really good run last time out for this field. A little bit of a familiarity with Edwin Maldonado back aboard. But once again, 78 for, a 4-1 horse in a grade 3. All right, we'll work with that. And then finally, this is a horse that you brought up as well. I have the 4-horse Sea Dancer. My notes say one of only 2 horses in this field to have won 6 figures. ... I don't know, because I don't know why. This is one of those races. I think anything can and probably will happen when you have, even Pink Whitney at 15-1, ran a 73 last time out. All things considered in this field, that's not a bad speed number. Yet it's 15-1. So sometimes I just kind of, and I hate to keep being so negative, but when we do the NFL, there are some games we have to talk about, and it's like, the Panthers versus the Patriots, and it's like no one really, come on, these teams aren't really going to compete against the big ones. There's still money to be made, however, it's just going to be a little difficult. You're going to have to maybe get through some of the other stuff to find some real gems in this one. Just my thoughts on it. Once again, don't want to be too critical, but at the same time, you got to be honest. I want to be honest with you all. Not the greatest grade 3 field I've ever seen, but any extra thoughts there, Raider Jim, or final thoughts for this episode of the Call to Post?
No, just looking up Santa Anita to throw something positive out there,
There
because
we go.
again, we would never slam our hometown courses, if you will, because we are two very proud California guys. But come September, after Labor Day, when Del Mar has wound down and Santa Anita fires back up again, hang on to your lunch pails, because from September 28th through October 5th, there will be 5 Breeders' Cup Challenge Series
There we
races
go.
held at Santa Anita. So, like I say, plenty of horse racing for Santa Anita in Southern California. Just real quick here, to stay on the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series thing, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that will take place at our own crown jewel of the West Coast, Del Mar Racetrack, where the turf meets the surf, starting in July through August, early September. So lots of good racing on the West Coast is going to happen.
Amen. And there's always those situations, and that's kind of the way the horse racing season goes. The early part of the year, it's about Derby prep, it's about Triple Crown prep. Then obviously this part, spring into summer, or at least spring into, June, and we got Triple Crown season. Once the Belmont ends, everyone cashes their tickets, all eyes start to kind of focus on those Breeders' Cup Challenge races. Of course, then leading up to the Breeders' Cup, which will, of course, for the next 2 years, be held at our Seaside Oval here on the West Coast. Del Mar, cannot wait for that. But Raider Jim, your final thoughts for this episode of the Call to Post?
So
The
good to be
original
back,
call.
and I think we're finally we've got all of our stuff in order now, and hopefully we will be with you folks week in and week out because nothing like having the winter months get behind us. Spring's almost done, and then with the sunshine out, we're ready to talk nothing but horses.
Amen. Amen. I got two final thoughts, which kind of cheating, but you know what? I make the rules, so it's all good. First one, first and foremost, obviously, the passing of Bill Walton, someone here in San Diego. Bill was, I mean, look, Bill with two L's. You don't need to be a San Diegan to have probably laughed or at least enjoyed Bill Walton. And however, you saw him, whether it was at a Grateful Dead concert, it was listening to him commentate basketball and talk about some really weird stuff, or just, overall be a genuinely wonderful human being. I don't, even before, Bill passed or he passed, I never heard a single person say anything bad about Bill Walton. And Coach was the one who kind of broke the news to us. And the first thing I said was, I don't know him, but the one thing I do know about Bill Walton is I don't think anyone loved life more than Bill Walton. And he was, I mean, I'm sure you've seen all kinds of videos. They're all out there. He was truly, truly one of a kind. And I definitely did want to shout him out. Because not just being here in San Diego, even though he's a San Diego legend, but just a overall, I think, an American legend, especially at the sports scene. And really someone that I think these athletes could emulate themselves off of as well. But the other side of it, I'm
Definitely
gonna
definitely one of those busts that are on the San Diego Mount Rushmore. You have Tony Gwynn,
100%.
you have Bill Walton for sure.
Amen. And San Diego's a better place for having Bill be a part of it for
Absolutely.
quite some time. And then my other final thought, switching gears at least to the baseball side of things. We got some news about 2 or 3 days ago that finally Major League Baseball will be incorporating the Negro League statistics into Major League Baseball. So, I mean, for the first time in almost 100 years, we are seeing the leaderboards change. And one of my favorite players that not too many people have heard about, but I think that's going to change, and it's probably already changing, is Josh Gibson. I was a big fan of the Ken Burns baseball documentary. That's where I found out about Josh Gibson. Been a fan of his for pretty much ever since I think it was about 8 or 9 years ago when I saw that. I have a bobblehead of him on my desk. So grateful that not only Josh Gibson, but all of those players, once again, way too late, and none of this can make up for the way they were treated at that time, not just in baseball, but in life. But I do think it's right of baseball to do that. And another really good part of it is if you know anything about Ty Cobb, maybe the first thing you know is he was a great hitter. Well, the second thing you should know was he was a just out and out racist. Go read the stories. I'm not making that up. You can go read it. So I get a lot of kind of amusement of knowing that Ty Cobb is no longer the average leader. And I hope he knows wherever he is. And I have my thoughts on where he is, but wherever he is, I hope he knows that a black man has taken his spot. And I hope he lives with that or goes with that for all of eternity. Just a little pot shot towards the Georgia peach there. But overall, congratulations. Way, way, way too late, but better late than never
Absolutely.
to get that figured out. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the original Call to Post here on the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Thank you all so much for listening. It's time for y'all to go wash your hands. Take care. Talk to you soon.